Congressman Gowdy suggested, how did we get from almost unanimous votes for Ruth Bader Ginsburg and a unanimous vote for Antonin Scalia to the hyper-partisan situation we're in now? Now, there's not one step, but you have to look back at 2016 when Antonin Scalia died suddenly, and with, I think, 269 days to go, President Obama named Merrick Garland as his nominee to the court, and in an exercise of pure political power, not to say it's unconstitutional, but they simply decided they weren't going to entertain. They weren't going to meet with Merrick Garland. They weren't going to have a hearing on Merrick Garland. But now, with, 3 weeks, 22 days left to go, they're having the hearing for Judge Barrett. There's nothing in the Constitution that says, well, if there are different parties, there's nothing in a legal precedent that says there isn't. It was simply a question that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans had the votes, and they decided they were going to block the Garland nomination, and they were going to push through the Barrett nomination. Then when it comes to policy, you hear the Republicans continue to say, look, they want to make Supreme Court nominees into super legislators. We're just talking about a judge applying the law. The problem with that, of course, is the fact that President Trump has said over and over again what he hopes to get from these judges, and talking about doing the right thing on issues like the Affordable Care Act. And then finally, to Judge Turley and Shannon Bream, who were suggesting it's really a reach to talk about the idea that they might strike down the Affordable Care Act. In fact, what they're hearing is a ruling by a Texas federal judge, which in fact struck down the entire Affordable Care Act. So it may be that the court doesn't decide to do that, but that's the case that's before the court, and that's the action that the judge at the lowest court took that they're going to be considering. So I don't think it's such a reach to say that is the potential implication of a 6-3 conservative majority on the court, that the Affordable Care Act will be on the docket when they hear that case.
Very interesting. But I want to note, and certainly Chris Wallace raises some good points, the lower court did strike down the ACA, but there do not appear to be a majority, it does not appear to be a majority of votes from our count of overturning the entire act. In fact, the betting money is that conservatives might join liberals.
Jonathan, if I may, the point I'm simply making is this. That's what the court did. You're predicting how judges, including one who's not even on the court yet, are going to vote. I'm just saying, I'm not saying what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. Let me just finish. Okay. You don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know what's going to happen. But the fact is, for Democrats to talk about the cases of these individual people and to say that their lives might be at stake is not an irrational leap.
We want to hear your response.
That's the case that's being heard by the court.
Even Chris Wallace isn't buying this bad faith Republican talking point that both sides are to blame for the hyper-partisanship regarding the Supreme Court. And he rightfully points out the fact that this was started by Republicans in 2016 who claimed that because there were 9 months to go until an election, that they simply could not bring themselves to steal that decision away from the American people. And yet now, despite the fact that millions of Americans have already voted in this election, that people are standing in lines across the country as we speak, well, suddenly these Republican senators would be remiss not to do their duty of confirming the Supreme Court nominee. The double standard would be hilarious if it wasn't so disgusting. And look, with that said, I don't think it's any surprise that Republicans are hypocrites. If you've paid attention over the last few years, you'll realize that there are no supposed values that Republicans haven't abandoned in their naked pursuit of power, from family values to fiscal responsibility to states' rights to law and order. So the issue isn't just calling out this illegitimate Supreme Court nomination, it's the implications of that nomination. And the implications are dire, chief among them being what will happen to the Affordable Care Act, which is the only law there is ensuring coverage for over 20 million Americans. It's the only law ensuring coverage for those with pre-existing conditions. It's the only law ensuring that Americans under 26 can stay on their parents' health insurance plans. This is not some obscure Washington, D.C. legalese. This is real life. This affects everyone. This is quite literally the difference between life and death. And bear in mind, Trump, along with other Republican senators, have already been clear about the fact that they're only going to put forward a nominee who's hostile to the ACA. But not just the ACA either. A conservative majority in the Supreme Court is a death knell for women's rights, protected in Roe v. Wade, which Amy Coney Barrett has already expressed her opposition to. It's a death knell for voting rights legislation aimed at expanding Americans' rights to vote. It's a death knell for inevitable climate change legislation that Republicans, backed by big oil and gas, will challenge to keep their donors happy. This is a court that will be hostile to issues that the vast majority of Americans support. If this isn't a testament to the fact that Americans are living under minority rule in this country, nothing is. And then you have Jonathan Turley, who is Republicans' token constitutional lawyer, who's ultimately nothing more than a buttoned-up Sean Hannity trying to assuage Democrats' fears with some baseless pontificating that, well, you know, I really don't think that a conservative majority would overturn the ACA. Right. A 6-3 conservative court won't overturn the ACA. A 6-3 conservative court won't do the very thing that Republicans have voted 70 times trying to do. Democrats might be in the minority right now, but that doesn't mean we're stupid. The fact is that the Republican Party already showed us what happens when we trust them. This very nomination occurred in an election year, despite Republicans' own rules supposedly claiming that presidents shouldn't be allowed to put forward a nominee in the same year as an election. This entire process is a testament to Republicans' shameless willingness to lie. So when Jonathan Turley shows up on Fox News and patronizes us about how, oh come on now, the ACA will definitely be safe with a 6-3 conservative majority, he is lying. Because this is what Republicans do. They lie. And as you may have noticed, they don't stand for anything other than consolidating their own grip on power. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.